Okay. And if ever you can't be here live, there's always a recording, and it's beautiful. What you'll notice if you ever can't come to a call live is that, like, what you'll notice is that the questions you had end up being answered even though you weren't on the call. But obviously I highly recommend prioritizing being live on every single one. Okay. So let's jump in. I'm just going to pop into the Voxer chat really quick and just remind everybody that we're on the call. Okay. We're on the call. Okay. Elise is here. Stephanie's here. Or Stephanie's about to be here. Okay. Cool. And then we'll also be having more people join us over the next few days. So that'll be fun. Okay. Amazing. Let's start with Veronica. I'm just going to unmute you. Okay, there we go.
Hello.
Hello, love. How are you?
I'm good. I was like feeling so much resistance coming to this call, like so much like energy around it.
That's interesting.
So, I know, like it feels good in a way of, holy shit, I'm wearing these noise canceling headphones and I haven't like taken a lot of calls with them. So I feel so like, it feels like really weird to talk with them on.
No distractions.
Yeah, no, it feels like I'm almost like, it feels like over the course of the time that we've been in the Voxer, it's like all these things were kind of opening up that I never actually believed would open up. And so I'm like, like, I don't know. I feel like naked. I'm like, oh my God, but now, like, oh my God, like things are actually changing. And I feel like, but whenever I first joined, I was like, okay, like I got this. And I'm just like, oh. So that's kind of like where my energy is right now.
So do you feel like you're fighting a little bit with some resistance to changing some things? Like, what is that part?
Oh, I don't know. Let me sit with it. Yeah, no, I think it's just like the ego. It's just like fear of death. Like, it's like I'm so desiring like safety and ease and softening, and like I'm finding that. And it's just as like disorienting because I haven't, like, the concept of being able to receive like without performing and like,
yeah,
like all those things has just not ever been like a thing for me.
Yeah, so your ego's been used to kind of chasing or seeking safety outside of yourself or in your circumstances instead of just feeling it and being it and embodying it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a new paradigm that you're stepping into that feels uncomfortable to parts of your mind, which is a good thing because that means they're being challenged.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, as for like the fear of death thing, right? Because it's like the ego, the mind, the lizard brain, whatever you want to call it, at all costs will hold on to identities and structures that it believes will keep it safe, that it believes are serving it, right? Because the mind only ever holds on to anything that it believes is it's like keeping it safe in doing so, right? So it's always just like leaning back into what I used to do for a long time, like when I remember there were points in business as I made more and more money where I started to notice sensations in my body where I felt unsafe in doing it, or leaning into ideas or belief systems where it was like more leaning back and it was safe to do so, and leaning back into that safety, back into that safety, back into that safety. Like, I know for sure that every single fear ultimately boils down to like a primal fear, typically fear of death, right? So I always would just put my hand over my heart and ground my attention into my body and be like, here I still am, right? Because like the ego can get so like caught up in its own shit and like spiral to the point where it's like, oh my God, or it almost believes it is dying. And it's like, no, I'm not, I'm fine, I'm right here. Like, this is expansion.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that all feels so good to hear. And it feels, it's like, yeah, I am grounding in and I do feel like, okay, yes, I am okay. But yeah, it's just kind of like holding both, I guess, like as it happens, like being like, okay, yeah, I'm still here. I'm still okay. So.
Yeah, amazing. And it's a process. It will be fluid. But I think just as long as you like continually lean back into and connecting to what you want, right? And coming back into your body, like there's nothing to perform. Like I just simply get to be like me. Like the embodiment is what we're all reaching for, right? The embodiment is where the safety is in body, right? Where the abundance is in body, right? Where it's like, it's no longer just an idea of the mind. It's like literally grounded into your experience first by feeling it, right? And that's where that grounding and embodiment occurs. So it's just kind of like allowing it to be like messy sometimes, feel a little chaotic sometimes, but just coming back to the truth of what you want and how you want to feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear
Makes
that.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel you have any questions? Do you feel you have anything you want support around specifically? Or are you just feeling into the safety in your body?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So my biggest thing is that I have had a really hard time. Like my relationship with clients is not what I would like it to be. I, um, I come from that same energy often of like, it's like fear of like some of the stuff that Barbara was talking about was kind of resonating with me about like fear of maybe my client being mad at me or like needing them. I don't know, this is not necessarily Barbara stuff, but like what I feel is um, needing to be a good like therapist, like needing them to, I need their approval. And I know that that's creating like, yeah, it's like, what I really want is to like just feel like these magical days. Like I want to like go into work and like have clients who would just feel like really good clients and who it doesn't feel like this weird kind of like fight, like it just feels like they're truly wanting like what I have and like I'm able to easily like, give it to them and we have this like really positive alchemy and really my favorite clients are ones that I feel inspired by. Like as I was feeling more and more into what I want, I was like, I just want to like hang out with like really cool, creative women who want, well, and men, I guess, but who want more and who like, are just like ready for that.
Right.
And then as I hear their processes, I am like able to support them and able to like move with them. And then like every day I come home and I'm like, fuck yeah, like I love my clients, like I love what's happening. And instead I notice like, yeah, it's like, it's just doesn't feel like that right now.
So does it feel like I have to please them in order for them to be happy with me?
I mean, yeah.
So what if they're not happy with you? What happens then?
Yeah, there's like this feeling of abandonment.
Mm-hmm. So, sorry, I'm just kind of taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I'm not sure where I read this and I don't even like, okay. So essentially like what I know to be true and what I believe to be true, the two most common fears, like I feel like every fear really boils down to the fear of death because like people will say there's only two primal fears, which is like the fear of abandonment and the fear of death. But it's like abandonment ultimately boils down to dying essentially because it's like a community like wound of like, if I don't have the support of relationships in my life or whatever, I don't get the resources I need and then I die. So I think it's all just the death one ultimately. But
right, yeah.
So it's like they abandon you, then what? Right? Like, so if you don't please these clients, if they're not happy with you, they leave. What does that mean for you? Does that mean like, where's the fear actually coming from? Is it like, okay, then they stop paying you? Is it, and like, that's where the fear is? Or is it like a fear of, they leave, they're not happy with you. And then you have to live with the knowing that there's someone in the world who may not like you. Like, what is the feeling?
It's more the feeling of like, I so badly am like, it's like I know that I have like medicine to share. Like I know it's like I get so like obsessed with just like I love this work, like I just like love it. And it's almost like this feeling like I won't be able to share it or like I won't be able to express myself. I'll be shut down.
I won't
Like
be
I can
free to
feel
be me.
Wait, say that again.
I won't be free to be me.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It's like and that is like a pattern in my life of feeling like I won't be free to be me because I've had to like manage other people in order for me to be safe, and then like I come last, and then it's like, there's not enough for me, really,
Right.
is what the story is.
And this, right. So like the solution to this truly is like, we have to remember that everything around us is responding to us. So we have to have the leading energy. Like we have to be aware that we have the leading energy is what I should say. We never don't have the leading energy. It's just, are we leading the energy towards what we want or away from what we want? Right. Cause it's like everyone ultimately, like you are the core, you are the center of your universe. So everything in your life and everyone in your life is responding to you. Just like for me in
Mm.
my life, how I feel, what I think, and what I believe. I'm just going to mute you while I talk. What I feel, what I think, and what I believe is like my clients are responding to me, my partner's responding to me, my money's responding to me, my dog's responding to me, my friends are responding to me, my social media engagement is responding to me. Like it's all responding to me. And so with all that responding to me, instead of waiting for things to change, I get to lead the energy towards what I want. Right. And so something you kept saying, which is really, really powerful, because I think there's something awesome emerging here for you, is like you just kept saying the word want. I want, or over and over and over again. As I listen to you talk about this stuff, you're like, this is what I want. I want it to be like this. I want it to be like that. I want to feel free to be me. Right. And it's like the solution in that, which is kind of funny. I feel like it kind of piggybacks off what we were talking about with Elise in the Boxer chat a little bit earlier today, where it's like, it's not about being good enough. It's about just doing what you want. Right. And, I feel like that's an interesting interesting like shoes to step into while you're, working for somebody else. It's maybe feels more simple while running your own business, but it's like, it's still just about an energy that you want to feel, right? And when you allow yourself the freedom and the permission to not give your freedom away to other people, right? Because it's like, I love what Abraham Hicks says, where it's like, you're so free, you can choose bondage. It's not that anybody's bonding you. It's that you're giving the power away to other people so that they can make you feel that way. But it's ultimately you feeling that way, right? You have the freedom and the ability to always feel free to be yourself, regardless of the circumstances or even conditions of your life or conditions of your bank account or conditions, right? You always have the ability to feel free because freedom is a feeling, right? And you always have the ability to choose how you feel or to change how you feel or to lean into feeling differently, right? And so it's like when you move into an energy where you're free to feel that you're allowed to be yourself, right? I remember like stepping into this within relationships where I always felt in relationships I had to like, who should I be for them? What do they want me to be? What do they want? What do they want? What do they want? And then I just eventually got to this point where I felt really confused and distorted and who the fuck I was for one, and who I wanted to be in relationships and what I even fucking wanted in a partner. You know what I mean? It just felt so motherfucking confusing. And instead of trying to sort out all the details or pulling out the threads, I just had to come back to the truth of my heart, which is like, what do I want from every single moment? Of like just trusting that what I want to say is perfect, what I want to do is perfect, what decision I want to make right now is perfect, and just completely 1000% backing myself up. And it's like in that feeling, it wasn't even about the actions I was taking, it was about me feeling that way when I spoke, me feeling that way when I did what I did, me feeling that way, feeling that way, feeling that way, feeling that way. And it eventually led to like my pattern in the past with relationships was always feeling trapped or like not free to be myself or whatever. And so that led to controlling men. That was my end of the equation, right? Like, I'm not free, so let me attract a man who wants to control me, right? And so when I created that sense of freedom within myself, because I realized that nobody was taking it from me, I was giving it to them, right? And that was about how that was how I was choosing to feel in response to other people, or how I was choosing to feel about myself in the presence of other people. And they actually had no power over that. I got to change that as soon as I realized it, right? And then when I realized that I had the power to choose how to feel free in myself, everyone started responding to me differently and honoring just not even the boundaries I knew, or like I should say standards, like the standards I knew I had. Like I wouldn't be able to even necessarily consciously communicate all the standards I have in relationships, in business, whatever, but people just naturally feel them in my coding of my being, right? Because it's like I feel so free to be myself, and I know it's allowed, I know it's enough. I know like ultimately if I ever felt backed into a corner by life or any situation, I would always come back to what do I want, right? And I would listen to myself over everything, right? So it's coming back to the relationship you have with yourself, and do you allow yourself to be free in the presence of you? Does that make sense? And like just taking other people completely out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, as soon as I feel into that, I'm like, yes, I'm free by myself. Like, this is awesome. But then it's like, well, fuck, now that I have the power, like, what is my medicine? Like, like,
You know,
kind of like what I was saying the other day. Huh?
that will come naturally as you expand in this energy, right? Because it's not like to me, it doesn't always feel like this earth shattering, like the heavens are singing, or like someone's whispering in your ear, Veronica, this is what you must do, right? Like, you are the chosen one for this thing, right? It's just like when I'm so free to be myself and I so trust, like, because I feel like this is about healing the relationship you have with yourself. And because the impulses and the guidance are always there, but it's just, are you trusting them, and therefore are you hearing them, right? Because it's like they're there and they may feel so subtle, and you may have voices in your head that are like, oh, like your heart's like, ooh, whispering to you, like, do this feels so good, this feels so right, right? But then your mind is saying, none of this makes sense, what do we do, who are we, right? And so those voices are conflicting, right? And if you're used to leading your life from your mind is what feels loudest, right? But it's like when you come back to the truth of your heart and what you want, right? Which is to feel free to be yourself and know that, like, in that, it's like when you're free to be you, goddamn, does your potent medicine come through? Like, does your expression come powerfully and potently through you, right? Because there is no fear, there is no hesitation, or there is no like distortion of it, right? Because like feeling unsafe is, I would say, the number one way we distort our clarity and distort our message and distort our like potency, right? Because it's like, if we're not safe to speak, of course the natural response or mechanism in your brain, like protection mechanism in your brain, is like, let's just not know what to say so that we can feel safe. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, if I don't know what to do, I'm safe in not doing anything because I'm afraid to do, actually, right? And so it's like when I'm free to be myself and I'm free to do what I want, I'm free to say what I want, it's just like giving yourself that permission. It doesn't necessarily mean that every single thought that comes to your mind, you're being like, oh, that guy's booger hanging out of his nose. It's like, you know, like, just for like a shitty example, but it's like, you you have the freedom to be like, yeah, I could say that out loud and not feel bad or whatever. But it's like you start to use that discernment of like, of fully allowing the voice and the clarity of your heart to come through you clearly and potently. And like that leads to clarity of your message and clarity to your medicine. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, there's construction at my house. I'm sure you can hear that.
It's okay, no worries.
Yeah, that, I mean, that all feels good to hear. It's like, as you say all that, I'm like, yeah, and like, it's like so true, and I feel like I can feel into it, and then there's just this feeling like, I don't know, I feel like sad and kind of discouraged. It feels like, I don't know what that's about. I'm just like,
If that feeling could talk, what does it say?
it's like, this isn't for you. Like,
What isn't for you?
meaning, like abundance, like belonging, like, yeah.
Does this feel true, or does it feel like, okay, so this isn't for you. One isn't for me. Having abundance and belonging. Why? Why wouldn't it be for you?
I mean, I know it's a lie, like, but that this story is, it's not for me because like, I mean, it's just like patterning really, but it's like, the thing is like, I can know that it's patterning and my brain can still not know how to have the new patterning.
Right, and that's
Like,
what you're doing right now. So tell me what the patterning is.
yeah,
This isn't for, abundance and belonging isn't for you because why?
I have nothing to offer. It's like, it's like, yeah, again, like fraud energy, like I'm not, it's like the feeling of everyone else has, you know, like, this is so weird, you know, like everybody else has their money for lunch or their money for like a field trip or whatever at school. Like I feel like a child, and then it's like, I don't have it. Or like everyone else has like a winter coat and like they have what they need, and like, you know, as we go out to recess, we have like our gloves and like all the things, but like I fucked up, like somehow I don't have what I need, and like it's my fault, like I forgot my homework, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, like, and therefore I'm excluded from meaning and abundance and belonging.
I didn't do what I was supposed to do. That sticks out for me. I didn't do what I was supposed to do, therefore I can't have what I want, right? Does that feel true with this feeling?
Totally, yeah, right.
Okay.
And so I try to do and do and do and do, and then it's like I can never do enough.
Right, because that's not, we can't argue with the lie, because we're trying to move into what we want from a lie, and that just never works, right? It's like, I don't know, like let's say you were underwater and you're like, oh, I just want to breathe, and you're fighting to try and breathe underwater, and every time you try, you take in water. It's like, well, what if you just put your head above water and just let yourself take in air and oxygen the way your body is programmed to, like, you know, on land. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's
Yeah.
like, so it's like we have to, okay, so I didn't do what I was supposed to do, therefore I can't have what I want. So what were you supposed to do? What do you believe, like what is this pattern saying you have to do in order to be worthy or allowed to have what you want?
It's like know everything, be everything for everyone.
Know everything, be everything for everyone. What else?
Like basically all the time. Yeah, be like, it's like basically not have any needs, like
Why?
not take up any space.
Why?
It's been dangerous for me to have needs because like it feels like I won't belong if I have needs. I'm like taking up too much of the tribe's resources.
Okay, so it's dangerous for me to have needs. Why?
Because nobody wants to be in a relationship with me.
In what way?
God, it feels like in every way. Like,
So I'm just gonna kind of like explain what we're doing just so that this can help you in the future and everyone else who's listening. So, you know, this is literally the process I do with my own mind and my own limiting beliefs, is like I start with the feeling, the discomfort, right? And I just pull on the thread. Like I just pull on the thread. Like if you've ever tried to undo a knot of like 10 of your necklaces, for example, right? Like at first it seems like this confusing, overwhelming bunch of shit, right? And you're like, oh shit. And it's like how you untangle it is you grab the thread, you grab one necklace, right? And you just pull until it starts unweaving and unwinding, and you just follow the thread down to the core. And the core is where we have something to work with, right? Because what eventually happens is like we pull down to the core, where eventually we realize it doesn't make any fucking sense. And we're like, wow. And we feel that kind of release. We're like, that was silly or illogical or whatever. But if we're feeling that feeling where it's like, I know this logically doesn't make sense, but it still emotionally feels true, we have more thread to pull on.
mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So let's keep pulling this thread.
Yeah.
So
cool. I'm just feeling into it.
Yeah, no worries. So
yeah, so nobody wants to be in a relationship with me. I have nothing to offer. It's like, yeah, the feeling that I have around it is like people are always like magnetized by me at first, and they're like, Veronica's awesome and like you're so cool and all this stuff, but then it's like then they realize I have standards, or like then they realize that like I have expectations, you know, like I mean honestly what it's bringing up for me is like you know, I wasn't sexual at all, like hardly at all when I was a teenager.
mm-hmm.
And like I would like have all these guys who like wanted to be with me and stuff, but then it's like as soon as they found out that I couldn't like provide something for them sexually, they were like not interested. And you know, it's like, oh, I don't really want to be in a relationship with you. I only want to be in a relationship with like what you can provide for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like it's like the idea is like I'm only valuable based upon what I can provide.
instead of who you are.
Right.
So does it feel like people want me? And I'm just going to say this because this is what the feeling feels like. It's definitely not true and nobody here is thinking this. But does it feel like this? People want me until they realize I'm not valuable.
Absolutely. Oh, totally. That's exactly what it feels like. Yeah.
Okay. Does this feel like the core? So it's like, because to me, it's like, okay, so in relationship and business, like this feels like a core thread in the sense where it's like, this is showing up in multiple areas, right? I've heard you talk about relationship and it began talking about business, right? Where it's like, people can't get in too deep. I can't let in too much abundance because once the abundance is let in, I will feel unworthy of it because it will bring up this feeling or sensation in my body that I inherently have no value, right? And so I'm trying to protect myself from this feeling of the worst feeling I know I've ever experienced, which is the feeling of having no value, right? And so let me block out money so I don't have to face this feeling. Let me block out this deeper level of intimacy with life so I don't have to face these feelings of feeling invaluable.
Totally. Yeah. It totally does feel like that. And it feels like, the feeling that you get before, it's like when I've placed like so many eggs in one basket and I'm like, this will make me happy. And then I get there and I'm like, God damn it. Like that did not make me happy. Like, and it's like, that revealing of like, I'm wanting to feel my own value because it's like almost too much to bear to, I don't know, like to feel like I don't have it.
Right. So it feels hard to feel value when we're placing our value in what we do, right? Because it's kind of like the paradox, right? Where it's like, I need to do more. I'm just gonna mute you for a second. I'm gonna do more so that I can be of more value, but no matter how much I do, I'm never valuable enough, right? Because it's not about what you're doing, right? So that kind of like clears up part of the thread already, where it's like, in order to be valuable, I must do like be and provide more, right? But then the equal end of that same feeling, the same strand also says, no matter how much I do, be, or provide, I'm never valuable enough, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm fucked either way.
So to me, it's like, I don't know, like when we get to it at this point, like the brain is like, what? 10101, do not compute, right? Because it doesn't make sense. Because the brain is trying to be logical and the brain is being like, look, Veronica, we have all this evidence for you're not valuable. You must do more, provide more, be more in order to be valuable and worthy of receiving all that you want. In order to be valuable and worthy of receiving this clarity, in order to be valuable and worthy of knowing who you are and what you provide to this world. Bum, 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 right? But then you go, okay, brain, let's fucking play, right? The brain's like, okay, Veronica, if you want to be more valuable, you must do more, be more, and provide more. Got it? And you're like, okay, got it. Let me do more, be more, provide more. And you're like, not working. And the brain's like, you're not valuable because no matter how much you do, no matter how much you be, no matter how much you provide, you will never be valuable enough, right? And does that make any fucking sense to that same pattern of the brain? And no, it doesn't, right? Because it's like, well, if I must do more, be more, provide more, and no matter how much, in order to be valuable, right? Because your brain is stringing you along like a, carrot on a string, right? Dangling carrot. It's like, okay, let me chase this. I'll finally be enough. I'll finally be enough. I'll finally be enough. But then, and your brain is leading you to believe that there is, just like safety with money. Once I reach this much money, I'll finally feel safe. Once I reach this much, I'll finally feel safe. Nope. Now it's that much, 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 that much. Nope. Now it's that much. Now it's that much. Oh my God. I've made billions of dollars and I feel so unsafe with money. Right. And it's like, to me, doesn't that just not make any fucking sense? Right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, so now that I know, kind of like the feeling you felt coming onto this call, where you were like, I feel discouraged. And we pulled that thread, and it was like, because I must do more, be more, and provide more in order to be valuable enough to deserve to have what I want, right? And then we asked your brain, well, how much more must I do, be, and provide in order to finally be enough? And the brain's like, we'll never get there. but doesn't your brain also believes on one level that there is a way to get there? So how, like, those don't match.
Right.
So it's like, that means that this belief doesn't make sense, and because it doesn't make sense, it's therefore not true.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
What do you feel when I say that?
Mm, I feel like I can feel deeper into my heart, and I feel like the quivery energy kind of on the surface is like, okay, yeah, yeah. And I like, as I go in deeper, I'm like, I can breathe a little deeper. And then I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, and I like, I don't know. It's just like I feel that desire to want to um, feel myself, like to want to like feel my power, like to want to feel my surety. Like I want to feel sure. I don't even. It's not like I can't live in uncertainty, but I just want to like feel secure
Mhm.
in my work. Like, yeah, it's like I just have this desire to express, and yeah, I just feel that like it's almost just like an aching, like deep, deep in my heart. It was like, oh, but I want to express, but I want to express. Okay, okay, like I don't know.
So whenever this feeling comes up, right, where it's like, I want to feel sure, right? That's only a feeling you can provide to yourself by removing the things within you that say you're not safe and secure, right? Because it's like, I want to feel secure. Okay, let's feel secure then. Your brain's like, we can't. And you're like, why, brain?
Mm,
And your brain's like, well, because you're not good enough to feel like that or whatever. And you just get to pull that thread and be like, oh, this is that thread that I pulled. And I get to witness myself in this while knowing and while witnessing that this is not true. I can feel it emotionally, but I now gain subjectivity. I now
yeah.
gain I now gain perspective where I can feel these feelings and know it's not ultimately true. Does
Hmm.
that make sense? Like,
Totally, yeah.
so with the God stuff we were talking about in the chat, do you believe that the version of God you desire to believe in, the version of God that when you think about that version of God feels light in your heart, feels happy in your heart, feels loving in your heart, right? Do you believe that version of God views Veronica as unworthy? Do you believe that version of God views Veronica as unable to ever be secure? Definitely fucking not. Definitely not, right?
Mhm.
And so us being extensions of God and us being in alignment with God, which is that alignment where we feel good, means our perspective, what we feel, think, and believe aligns with the truth of God, our God, the real God. Your God is the only real God there is, like the God you want to believe in, right?
Mhm.
Not other people's like made up, weird, distorted, judgmental versions of a God, whatever. So it's like nothing gets more powerful or bigger than God. And so knowing that God views you a certain way, knowing that God views life and money a certain way, you just get to lean back and surrender to God's perspective around this.
Mhm.
It's the safe, reliable source to lean on.
Yeah.
And that's where
Yeah.
you get to get your validation. That's where you get to get your knowing how safe and secure you are, and knowing what's available to you, knowing how worthy you are, knowing how inherently valuable you are.
Yeah.
It's like you being an extension of God. God is worthiness. Like God, like regardless of whatever religion, I think most, if not all religions or whatever, believe that God is the source of the, like the most high, like is the most worthy thing there is, because it's the
Mhm.
creation of all that is. And if you are an extension of God and you get to lean into God's perspective about you, the God you want to believe in, there is no arguing here. There is no disagreement. There's just who am I in God's eyes, and it's worthy and it's safe and it's secure and it's abundance is available to me too.
Totally. Yeah, I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that feels good to hear.
Good. Good, good, good. So how are you feeling?
Much better. If I have time to ask one more thing, I would be down, but I know it's like been a while too.
No worries. We can circle back to you after we get to everybody else. and who knows, maybe it'll be answered by then, but definitely type it in the chat so that you don't forget it. And then we'll just circle back to it. Does that sound okay?
Yes. Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay. Barbara.
Hey there.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning from my bed.
How are you, love?
Good. I'm not gonna yawn, so it's all good. I shouldn't speak too soon. Nah, like everything's pretty good. I'm like, yeah, everyone's messages in the Vox I've really kind of been like tuning into and stuff, because I'm like, oh yeah, I need to look at this too. Cool, like this has been coming up, and even some of like the relationship stuff, I've just been like, oh yeah, I can really resonate with that. Because yeah, like last month was I mean, I don't want to say a shit month, but yeah, it was like as in money wise, because like the shit happened with that guy, and then I was like, I don't want to neglect my relationship mindset, because that's what I was doing for so long in my business, because I was like, I don't feel safe to focus on relationships because I have to make money. And so that's been my real thing, is like it's safe to focus on relationship mindset. Like it doesn't take away from my business, but it's still kind of happens sometimes, but I'm learning to be aware of it and pick up on it when my brain goes there, and then be like, nope, it's not all or nothing, Barbara, you can focus on the other things, right? But then it's like sometimes with business and money, it's like I build up lots of momentum in the past, like to get, I can feel it, and I can feel like, oh, okay, yep, I can feel the money's about to come in. Like I'm launching this thing and the money's about to come in, and the money's like, I can feel that feeling. And then it's almost like my brain has this resistance to going there again, like doing that process again, where it's like, oh yeah, like I feel so good, like I feel so good, because I've crashed in the past after doing that. And then I still like, because I have
Is that what you said?
Huh?
You've crashed in the past? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like I have
Like, what do you mean?
I have a high of like, oh my God, like,
Like
that
energy, emotion, income?
energy. So like I have my the 15K month in November, that was like, oh my God. And then like December was still all right. It wasn't as high, but it was still around, hovering around the 10K. And then like a bit less, but like then January was all right, and then February was like a flop. But it's also sometimes just like energy wise, when I have that high, I have a real like low. Like if I have euphoria, then it's like,
So I'm
go
just
down.
jump in.
Yeah, go.
Okay. So like that feels like self-protection, right? Because it's like it's like, to put it in simple terms, like it's waiting for the other shoe to drop. I have a high and it can't keep going, so let me drop before it drops, right? It's like,
Yeah.
because, and that happens because we avoid pain, right? We resist pain because we make pain mean something so detrimental when it's not anything, it's just an emotion, right?
Yeah.
We're so afraid of feeling bad or feeling like, what if, oh my God, I did fail, so let me just go ahead and do that anyways. I'm just going to, put my energy and field and belief system and get behind failing because I know it's inevitable anyways. Let me just get it over with. Oh, there. See, I told you it was going to drop. See, I'm right. I get to be right, ego, right? And it's like, at least when we feel pain, we get to be right, and so therefore, because we're right in the perspective of pain, we get to maintain some sense of control and therefore feel safe, right? But it's like when we can not be afraid of feeling pain, and we can walk with, success in business and even failures in business simultaneously, we continue to grow. And to me, like on the microscopic level, that looks like walking with joy and pain simultaneously sometimes, and not necessarily feeling them both at the same time, but having like, you know, if you zoom into your business in a month, right, there will be moments you're like, I feel in the flow, I feel like I'm killing it. Other moments where you're maybe building your energy up, getting clear on what you want, tapping into desire. Other moments where you're maybe, you know, resting or pausing or whatever, and like they're all good, right? But if we assign meaning to any of them and make them mean that it's not working, we turn on our self-protection mechanism, where it's like we want to protect ourselves from the emotional feeling of pain and the sensation of failure, right? And so we drop our energy so that we can just get it over with. Does that make sense? So it's like,
yeah, that's really what's happened. And as you're talking, it's like I know the pattern and I've been shifting it, and it's like it's like I can't handle it. That's more where that's the little girl inside me. It's like I can't handle it. Like it's overwhelming. I can't do this.
but you can handle it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can handle
That's
it.
like yeah, and I keep on like I know I've shifted stuff, and I know that I can shift this, and it's like that's the kind of the trend of like, yeah, it's like and then as Veronica was talking, like I was like, holy shit, like this has come up before. And it's like how I find one way is like how I do one thing is how I tend to do everything kind of saying, where it's like I've written this in my journal before, where it was like like comparing myself to all these people that looked so attractive and good, and why couldn't I just lose weight, and why couldn't I just get all my food stuff together? And then I wrote down, and this sticks out to me so much because it's come up so many times before, where it's like, but they have it all figured out and I don't. And that's where that's coming from. I can't, I don't have it figured out yet. That's the feeling of business for me. It's the same shit like with the diet. It was like, I just don't know what I'm doing. And it's like that with the business.
We all feel like that.
They have it all together.
Nobody does. Nobody
has it all together. I don't, kind of thing. Like,
right. But that's not true. And nobody feels like that. Everybody, when they get into their mind, because it's like, it's the mind, right? It's the mind who's in pure speculation, right? Who's like, well, they have that, therefore I assume they must feel like this, and I don't feel like that, so there must be something wrong with me because I don't feel how I assume they're feeling. And so since I don't feel like that, there's something wrong with me, and I can't have what I want, or I am not ready for it yet, or I am unworthy of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's not true, because like, I could feel like that every day if I wanted to in my business. I haven't figured it out yet, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, or I can just focus on, I can come back to the truth of like, what do I desire? Instead of what do I know, let me ask myself, what do I want? Right? It just really cuts the shit, where it's like, okay, instead of what do they know, what they have this, I think I want that. It's like, fuck all that. Like, what do I want right now? Hand over heart. What's important to me in this moment? What moves me right now? What do I genuinely desire this month? And like, what do I genuinely want today? Right? What is my priority? And I get to totally, completely align with that and do that and move from there. And from there, you lock in vision, and with vision, you're led. Right? Whereas if you go, I think I want that, or they feel like that, I should feel like that too, then you're pushing, then you're tired, then you don't have resources for every area in your life, and then you're like, well, why can't I have both? They have both. What's wrong with me? What am I doing? Oh, this is hard. I don't want to do it. Oh, look, see, I was right. Look at my month in business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's why like whenever like I keep going into this cycle of, like strategy coach or whatever, and I'll have strategy, I'll do some like strategy, and then I learn like it's like the dieting stuff used to throw me with strategy. Like it'd be like,
diet for you, do the keto diet, this one will work.
And strategy just throws me, and it's like the same with business, and it's like, it's the same process. Like I can't just like do what they tell me to do. So I think it's that enmeshment trauma from my parents. Don't tell me what to do. I don't want to be controlled. Don't tell me what to do. It's like that thing of like, you can't just, I feel a sense of I have no freedom when I get a coach that tells me, because then it's all like last year too, it was like, I was attracted to the coach, which was a bad idea. So then I was like, I want to please you. Like, I want to, and then it's just like, oh, I want to be a good little girl and doing my homework and show you that I'm like a
Right. It's
successful business person. And I'm
when
just
you
like,
drop into those patterns, when you drop into those patterns of like, what happens is, you know, and you'll notice this happens also with men, which I can get into in a second if we're interested. But you know, it's kind of like,
yes, the same problem with
when
men.
I fall into the little girl energy, which means I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I want, tell me what to do, tell me who I am, what do I want, what does life get to be like, tell me who I am, tell me what to do, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't trust myself, right? When we fall into that energy, we're we fall into like, we either turn into the little girl that's like, I want to please you, I want to be a good little girl, I want to tell me I'm doing good, tell me you love me, right? Or we fall into the rebellious teenager where we're like, you know what, fuck you, fuck your rules, I'm leaving, I'm too cool for this, I don't care, I get to do what I want, right? And it's like, those are all just the same shit. Like, it's just like, it's all just coming from disempowered energy. And it's funny because if you know, you can notice this in relationships where it's like, if you ever get into a mothering energy with your man, you'll notice where they'll fall into like the, I'm sorry, let me try and do it right, blah, blah, blah. Or they're like, they fall into the rebellious teenager where they're like, you know what? Don't tell me what to do. I'm too cool for this. I'm leaving. I don't even care. Like, you're
Or they just
child,
withdraw. Don't
right?
even talk at all.
Yeah,
I've
but
had
that's a
men
little
like
boy.
that.
Like, I want to please you, mommy. I'm not pleasing you. I'm sorry. Right?
They
So
just shut down. A
exactly.
lot of men that I've dated.
Right. And so it's like, you know, looking at this in business in relationship to our desires, right? You know, I'll kind of explain this with like relationships. It's like when we're in like the full on feminine energy where it's like you know, I love what one of my mentors refers it to, like, you know, she's not the first person to ever do this, but, you know, like the goddess energy, right? Where it's like, I am a goddess. I provide for myself. I'm, you know, what I say, cup runneth over energy, right? And from here, I don't wear what I think my man will want me to wear to be attracted to me. I put on the clothes that make me feel attracted to myself, right? Then I'm like,
Yeah.
good on my body, right? And then
Yeah.
naturally your man's like, meow, come here, right? Because it's all about
Yeah.
how you feel with yourself. And it's the same thing in business. It's the same thing in relationship to your desires. It's like where when you're doing what you want to be doing, not what you think will get you marks on the chart and be a good little girl for daddy and mommy and I'm doing good and you love me, tell me I'm doing good, right? Or like, I'm still following your rules. Oh my gosh, I feel trapped. Oh my gosh, it's never good enough for mommy and daddy. I'm not good enough. And you're like, you know what? Fuck them. Fuck you. You're cramping my style. I'm out of here. I'm not free. I'm running away and fuck you. Right? So it's like,
Yeah.
we instead of doing all of that, we can just simply get into the energy of what do I want? Like, what do I actually want here? I want this. What's actually important to me right now? This, right? And we get to focus on we get to ground into these, what we want. And when it's what we want, instead of trying to do it good or do it right or rebel against or whatever, and it's about what we want, we lock in vision. When we lock in vision, we're led, we're pulled, we know what to do, we're guided, we're inspired, we make the money, etc. Right? And we ground into these truths where it's like long-term vision, wealth over time, 1 month doesn't mean shit. Like, and we don't drop our intentions because we think we're doing bad and it's not good enough anyways. And oh, this month just gets to be bad too. Right? Or, you know, like, or where we feel like we're doing it all by ourselves because God does all of it. Like what you were saying earlier, like all or nothing, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't have to be like that. I agree. But it's like, God is all and all and all and all the time. God's just fucking on. God's like the all or nothing energy where it's like, but minus the nothing. You know, God's just on in every single area of your life, all that you want all the time. And all you have to ever do as a human being with one singular level of focus is focus on what you want right now. And that will just naturally overflow into every area of your life. And you just have to trust that. But if you make it me and your focus is over here, so therefore you're dropping balls over there, then you will drop balls over there. Right?
Yeah.
God has
That's what
omnipresence.
tends to happen.
Yeah, and God has omnipresence. You're an extension of God. Omnipresence means everywhere, all the time, in all things, right? So let's look at God's perspective on life: thriving, growing, expanding in all areas, all the time, in all things, right? So it's like that's what we get to have.
Yeah. I mean, like, I get caught up on little things with strategy, like I haven't done a live stream in ages because I get annoyed because I'm like, I know, like, like when I watch you and I'm like, oh, she's always on live streams, but I'm like, but I've got my podcast. That's my kind of,
yeah, I don't,
because when I do live streams, it's like I don't get as many, like I get so many downloads on my podcast. It makes sense to focus my energy there, because it's like I can get like 500 or 600 downloads on an episode, whereas I do a live stream and it's like not as many views at all. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I'd rather use my energy for the podcast, and then I'm like, oh, but I'm not doing any live streams. But then I'm like, but like, I get caught up in like, oh, but like my podcast makes more sense to focus my energy on. And then I'm like, but everyone's telling you to do live streams and you're not doing live streams. Like,
why are you
even I got tagged in a post yesterday by that coach that I went to the seminar the other week. And I was like, why are you tagging me in your shit? Like, why are you still trying to sell to me? I got angry because I was like, why are you tagging me? Stop pressuring me to hire you guys as a coach. Like I didn't want to work with you. And then it was like, do live streams or something was the post, and I was so fucking triggered.
Well, here's the thing. What would you tell a client? What would you tell a client who's like, Barbara, this keto diet is all the craze and I'm thinking I should do it. What do you think? Like people are saying, oh my gosh, I lost weight, I'm not even exercising. Like that's it. My body's in fat burning mode. Like, Barbara, what do you think? Should I do keto? I'm gonna do keto. I think I'm gonna do keto. And then like, oh, 2 weeks later, oh, I hate keto, it's not working, or I don't feel good, I don't like it. It's so many rules and restrictions and it doesn't feel right. What would you
I'd be like, you're missing the point.
Go on. What else did you say?
I just say you're missing the point. Like you're not focusing on the right thing, which is the pattern of I'm not doing the right thing and I don't know what I'm doing. That's the pattern. I don't know what I'm doing and I'm not doing the right thing. I'm never doing the right thing because I never know what I'm doing.
So how did you shift this? How did you shift this with your body? How did you shift this with your diet? How did you shift
I just became aware of when I was practicing that pattern, and then I shifted it. But then now my brain goes, oh, but you're practicing so many fucked up patterns and in relationships and there's too many things. And I'm
No, there's not, because you only have one moment at a time, and you don't have to be perfect at it. Like you just need to do like less of the patterns that you've been doing in order for your reality to tip over into manifestation.
Yeah,
like it doesn't have to
that
be like
makes
perfect.
sense.
It just has to be
it's not everything. Yeah.
Right. It just has to be more than what it was, basically. More in alignment than you were. And then you'll notice a tipping point. And then that momentum just gets to build on top of itself until it's more and more and more and more positive manifestations, right? But it's like, it's hard. Like to me, I would want to compare this to mindless eating, where it's like when you're not present with your body and if you're actually hungry and what you actually want, and when your body actually wants to stop eating, it's the same thing here, right? Where it's like, if you're not being present with who you are and who you're being and how you're feeling as you go through the motions in your business, as you take action, as you do the podcast, as you write the content, as you want to live stream, if you're genuinely fucking led to do that. So many people don't live stream ever. There were periods in my business where I went months without live streaming. It's not.
That's what I started to notice.
But it's
and I was like,
so when you're grounding,
so many other people don't.
When you're grounding into the awareness of what you want, you're going to be led to what your body needs to thrive. Just like you're going to be led to what your business needs to thrive in this moment. But it's like, if you're like, oh, I'm all caught up in my head. Oh, bag of chips. Let me just scarf this whole thing down. Oh my God, I ate the whole bag. What just happened? Right? Like,
that's what I do with business. I'm like, oh my God, like the whole month is gone. What have I been doing? Basically just zoning out.
Right.
Because I'm not like, it's the same shit that I used to do. I'm like, Barbara, what are you doing? You know, this is the same that you did with food, right? It's just too much. I can't even, sometimes it's like, oh, I can't even touch my business. It's like, oh, my brain goes, oh.
And that's like someone being like, oh, I just can't even be bothered to eat. It's so stressful. Then you're like, like, I'm just gonna fuck it. I'm just gonna mindlessly eat. I can't even be bothered to fix this.
Yeah, it's more that. It was never I can't be bothered eating. It was more,
right.
I'm just gonna completely zone out and just eat because I can't even cope with the decision around food or cope with how I feel with my body. Like it was just mental shutdown. And I do that now without the food. I just do it like in my business. I'm just like, shut down, because it's this, since I quit my job and it was all good for 6 to 8 months, and then I just hit this point where I was like, I'm alone and I'm not supported. And then that's been the trend. And I finally like caught on to it the last few weeks, where I was like, you're just focusing on the wrong thing. You're focusing on all the evidence that where you're not supported. There are ways in which you're supported. And I realized that. And I was like, I couldn't see the things that were right in front of me. Right. And I was like, they're there, just see them. And then I was like, moving the direction of I'm supported. And then I get these moments of feeling it, but then it's still like I have to pull it back in, rein it back in. And I'm just like, oh, it's just exhausting. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's exhausting. Like, again, I just love the food analogies for you. But it's like,
oh yeah, they speak to me.
Yeah, it's exhausting when you're trying to micromanage every single thing you're eating, wondering if it's the right thing or the wrong thing, or adding up to what the body you want, or adding up to the body you don't want. You know what I mean? But it's like, when you can just be with yourself and trust the nudges of what you're led to eat, and not assign any negative meaning to eating the chips or not eating the chips, right? Or doing the live stream or not showing up today, right? And like really paying attention to those nudges, not assigning any negative meaning to them, and not showing up from a place of avoidance and fear, right? Because then, you benefit by showing up, right? That's the path of least resistance. But it's like not assigning meaning to anything, and just truly, truly, truly listening to, that your body's natural default setting is to thrive, unless you have habits in the way of it, right? Like binge eating because your emotions are out of whack. Your business, its default mode, and your relationship with money, default mode is to thrive, unless you have mentalities, habits, or whatever the fuck that get up in the way of it, right? And so it's just like that. It feels hard when you're operating from the energy and trying to change the outward habits, just like with diet and exercise and eating and changing your body. It's like when you still have the mentality of I can't trust my body, and you're trying to micromanage what you eat. Yeah, fuck yeah, that'll feel exhausting. Fuck yeah, that'll be a lot to keep up with, right? But it's like when you can just ground into presence, relax, take a breath, check in with yourself. What do you genuinely feel led to do? Knowing that the default setting is to thrive, knowing that the default setting is to continually grow, knowing that the default setting is everything's always working out. What do you feel led to do? What do you genuinely do?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think like last time, October, when I had that shit month, and then November I had a big month, my brain keeps on going back to that and then comparing what I did that time. And then it was like, no, but that whole October you spent getting into alignment, and you didn't spend all of February doing that. You like had waivers of up and down. And it was just like, sometimes my brain's like, but it takes you so long to get to that good feeling place. Like I know how to get there. And then it's
the thing is like, it won't actually, okay. So one, it takes as long as it takes. Fuck time. Like just remove it from the table. Like what I want you to focus on right now in your business and with money is your long-term, like your long-term wealth. Think about it like that. If it was like for example, not getting at like 6 like washboard abs by summer body, like diet, right?
Now
like
you just clicked actually.
Yeah, that's what you're doing in your business. God. Like, how can I make some money right now, this month, whatever? And then it's like, that's not allowing you to in your business, right? Because you're like, cash infusion, right? Sign clients right now. I'm not in alignment right now. No, it's okay. I'm not in alignment right now. It hasn't happened yet, so it's not coming. I don't have the abs yet. It's not coming. I'm not gonna get there in time. Blah blah blah. Whatever. But it's like if you're focused on sustainable, it's like it just gets to all add up and it gets to build up, and then it's like, sure, you could have a shit month, but who fucking cares when it's like the next month and the next month and the next month, they just get better and better and better and better because you're not focused on your vision, your long-term sustainable vision.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense. Much sense. Yeah, that's exactly what I see. Yeah. Oh my God, mind blown. When you relate it to food, my brain just goes, oh yeah, like of course. Okay.
Good.
So then my brain still's like, but I have to make money, right? Like, yeah, cool. Once I just make some money for this month, then I can do that, because last month was like no money whatsoever. Like it was pretty much just to pay expenses, and that was it. There was like nothing left.
So last month you had time. You had a month, right? You had time where it's like you could have, really created this space and gotten into alignment. And sure, it wouldn't have been ideal. It wouldn't like, it would have been a blow to your ego, right? To like have that low month, but it's like, it would have been building up momentum and trajectory for the following and following and following months and the long-term sustainable wealth over time. Right. But it's like now, so it's like, you're allowed to do that and create space for that if you feel you have space for that. But if you don't, and like really check in with reality here, don't check in with what your mind says, like the mind who's like addicted to instant gratification and doesn't feel safe if it doesn't have it, where it's like, no, I don't. But if you actually look at your actual financial circumstances and you're like, no, I literally don't have a month to create space and do that. Well, then it's like walk down the middle, where it's like, I get to be in the energy of building my stuff long-term over time, sustainable, whatever. But it's like, so think about it like this, where it's like, okay, I'm aware that I have this trip coming up where I'm going to be in a swimsuit and I get to like work with that. But it's like, I'm also not going to like abuse my body so that it looks like washboard abs by the trip I'm taking next month. And I'm also aware that I'm creating sustainable long-term over time. Like I'm going to do both. Does that make sense? Where it's like,
yeah,
where it's like, I get to walk this line of like creating money this month, and build towards my long-term vision. Does that make sense?
okay, yeah, no, that feels good. It feels good. It's because I don't want to get, because sometimes I get too relaxed around money, like around, oh, I'm supported in my business, the universe will support me, and then I'm just like it's avoidance relaxed. It's not.
That's not relaxed. That's avoidance, right? Because if you
Yeah,
back on, that's numbness, right? Because you actually pulled the curtain back. Behind the curtain would be like, I'm freaking out a little bit. I don't actually believe this is gonna work, right? That's not leaned back. That's just like shut it off.
yeah, avoidance. Yeah, turn
Right?
it off. Yeah.
So, here's something that I feel really guided to kind of share, like as a collective energy for this chat. Like there is an energy where like to me, manifestation feels like this cooperative energy between masculine and feminine energy, where it's like the feminine energy is the lean back and the receiving, right? And the masculine energy to me is the holding of the intention, right? Which means holding the energy, right? Holding, 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 holding. If you desire, like whatever your desire and intention is, right? Holding the intention of I'm making this much money this month, and it's an actual desire, not a bullshit ego desire. Like that'd be cool, or that'd be nice, or I would feel cool, or I'd feel like really safe, or whatever. Like what you actually want, what's actually important, what's actually a priority for you. Getting really honest with what you actually want, right? Hold the intention,
Yeah.
right? And the feminine energy is like, I'm willing to like, okay, masculine energy is the banks of the river. The feminine energy is the water that flows within it. If there were no banks, the water would disperse and stop moving. It would stagnate. The water would eventually stop because it wasn't guided by a force, and bacteria would build up in the water, right? Like it just wouldn't move. But it's like when we have the banks of intention, the feminine energy flows and flows and moves and moves and moves, right? So it's like when we let go of the intention, that's when we feel avoidance because the water is slowing down. The water is starting to come to a standstill. That's when we feel avoidance. That's when we feel like, it's like the best way to describe it for me is like this, like it feels energetically like I haven't showered in a week and a half and I really need to take a shower, and I just need to get up and take a shower. Like that's how it feels. So, but it's like if we're just in the masculine energy, there is no movement, there is no flow. We feel like dry, right? We feel dry. We feel lack of movement. We feel slow. We feel things moving slow. We feel very structured. We feel unfree. We feel trapped. We feel unsafe, right? So it's like you need both, right? So it's like hold the intent, get clear on what you want, get clear on what you actually motherfucking want, and hold that intention regardless, right? And allow yourself to hold that intention and listen to the nudges of the feminine energy that can sometimes not make sense and sometimes feel chaotic or confusing, or like that doesn't actually add up or whatever. But it's like the feminine energy is that intuition, is the part of you that knows more than your mind, the part of you that sees beyond your ego, that sees beyond this month in business or this day in business, right? And it knows how to have it all add up to your good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, perfect. I definitely feel a shift after this. Thank you so much.
Good. You're so welcome. Okay. Just real quick, guys, we're going to take like a 2-minute break. I'll leave the call on. I just have to pee, so I'll be right back. Okay. One Alrighty. I'm back. Okay. Let's see. Elise.
Yay, perfect, because I have a blow dry at 9:45, but it's like over an hour away.
Perfect.
I'm great, and I'm loving this chat. Like I've written so many notes to thank you, Barbara and Veronica, for your vulnerability. And Genevieve, that river analogy is just fucking gold. So good.
Oh, yay. I'm so glad. Yay. So tell me, what's going on with you? What's new? What do you need support around? Let's dive in.
So lots of shifts, but I wanted to I guess tweak or lock in a few things. The chat we were having in the Boxer where you're like, it's not you know how I signed this new high-end client and there was a little,
by the way.
Thank you for your help. It just felt so easy. There was a little bit of oh, I can't celebrate this money because I haven't delivered yet. And what if she doesn't like the coaching or doesn't feel, it was worth it for her? That old bullshit. And you were like, it's not even about being good enough. What even is that? It's just about, this is what I want from pure desire. And it's true. This is what I want. I want one-on-one coaching. I want women who I get along with to just be in my space and learn from my codes, and they thrive and I thrive, and it's all fun and prosperous and beautiful. And so you said this thing, it's about, okay, this is what I want. So if you want to be a part of it, then you want to pay me. And so it's two sovereign beings choosing to kind of participate. But that brought up for me a question around, well, then what do you think about marketing and sales, and what are your codes around that? Because to me, if I'm promoting my coaching, or my courses, in a trying to bro marketing, get people in oh, come into my coaching because you'll get this and this and this, then it's not them just choosing to want to pay me to be around me. It's me convincing them, and there's more pressure. Do you know what I mean?
To me, it's not, even if you were come into my container to learn this, and this, I will teach you this step-by-step plan where we will learn, take you from here to here. You will learn this, you will go from here, making this much money to this much money. You will feel this to this. Even if you're doing all of that, it's still embodying the codes. To me, the marketing, this is why I don't teach on marketing, because I think marketing is pointless in my opinion. Sure, I market and I say things, but it's not about there is no right or wrong way to market. That's why I don't market things, because there is no say it like this, blah, 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 blah. There's just the clarity of your energy, the desire you feel in your heart to have people in your containers, and the knowing that it is massively of service for people to be around you and have access to your energy, to get around you, to have access to your codes. That's it. Right. And from there, from that embodiment, if you're led to be you will, if your desire is ooh, I want people who want to focus on these hitting these income goals, or focus on losing this amount of weight, or focus on creating this kind of relationship, or let go of these things in blah, 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 then market that way. But it's to me, it's not even about what you're saying that's calling people in. It's how you're feeling about what you're saying. Just it's just when I write content, to me, I just it doesn't feel like I'm saying things to get a reaction. It doesn't feel like it's I'm saying things because I have things to say, and you're welcome to like it. You're welcome to heart it. You're welcome to inquire about my services because of it. And I hold this energetic, openness where it's my containers are open. You can come in whenever is kind of how it feels. And people reach out all the time. People reach out every day. That's what I feel in my energy. People reach out when they're ready. Right. But meanwhile, I will still be stepping into the desire of what I want, calibrating to that, feeling that, being guided by that, saying what I want to say from that, and just letting it all be allowed and enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So just for example, a launch strategy, it's less oh, I better think up a challenge, which makes me want to vomit. For some reason, I just hate challenges.
Well, then nobody will sign up for it if you hate it.
Yeah, I know, right? But then I to Barbara's point, I don't want to just be avoiding the like doing anything for my launch. So is it more get into alignment with my desire to have like 40 people in my course, or like fill my coaching roster, get into alignment with that, and from there it'll just feel suddenly fun to do something that
Exactly.
like yeah.
So I feel like there's another thing we need to talk about here that's really important, which is like, why do you like ask yourself what you want and why, right? This is so important because it's like, for me, I listen to month to month, like I'll check in with my intentions. I usually take the first few days of the month to kind of get clear on what's actually important to me right now. And like right now, this month, what's really important to me is like spaciousness, like really listening to my body, really like honoring impulses in that. And I'm playing with these income goals and playing with these desires and playing with these other offers or whatever. But I'm like, when I get really fucking honest with myself, like what is actually a priority for me right now? What do I actually want? Right. And from there, it creates clarity, right? Where it's like, okay, is there some idea that I have to choose? Okay, if there is, I get to work that out. So I get to follow the desires of my heart and also allow what I want to be the same, essentially. Like for me to honor what I want and also get what I want. And I get to ask myself what I want and why, right? Because it's like when I ask myself what I want and why, there's a clarity that emerges where desire is something I can connect to and it's an energy I can get behind. And then vision appears and it's a feeling of being led, not pushing, right? And so if I like how I feel with like Get Lit with Money Bitch, whenever I launch that, for example, I launch it not because it's an easy way to make money, although it is, and not because it's like, oh, I know I can get this many people in it, or it would be convenient, or it's an easy offer to fall back onto, or whatever. It's like I launch it, and everything that I do in business, I launch because I'm like, it really truly feels. It's like sometimes it's like the desire starts off like where I'm playing with something financially, like a financial goal, or I'm playing with some desire in my life that money gets to flow in and support, or I'm playing with like, ooh, I genuinely am just like have been obsessed with talking about this, and my offer Get Lit with Money Bitch lines up so perfectly with this, and I just want to teach it, I want to talk about it, I want to sell it. And then from there, like that energy builds even to even further clarity where it's like, I know I want this many people in it because that would be a fun next level goal to play with in this container. Then I'm like, okay, cool. Like, how do I want to play with this offer is what it feels like. Not how do I want to strategically plan and get this many people in, blah, 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 blah. Like that feels right to me, but it's like, how do I want to play with this is truly how it feels. It feels like a dance. And it's like, so a dance to me is like, I hear the music, I start moving, like whatever part of my body starts moving first, whether it's me tapping my foot or me like moving my neck or me like moving my hips or whatever. Like this is like kind of like analogy for like business, but it's like, where do I feel the movement first? And not just because sometimes I hear music and a lot of the times I tap my foot first. If I start moving my neck first, doesn't mean there's anything wrong or I'm doing it wrong. I just get to trust where my body wants to move first. Right. Where it's like, I can plan with the money. I can play with the money first, or I can play with the offer first, or I can play with wanting this many people in or whatever. Like, what do I actually want? What am I actually wanting? What am I actually wanting? What do I actually want right now? Right. And when I start there, it's like I'm just going to be led. Like when I had my first $50,000 launch, my priority at that time was to pay my taxes in full. That's what it was. And I was like, this is what I want. This is a priority for me right now. This is what I actually want. Right. And then from there, when I decided, because I got honest with myself, like I didn't know what I was doing that month to make the money. And I was like, this is what I want. This is how much money I want to generate. I'm behind this. I get to do it. I'm excited about it. Right. And then from there, it was like, I felt this feeling. I was like, ooh, let's launch Get Lit with Money Bitch. And it wasn't like, oh, let's launch Get Lit with Money Bitch so that I can make that money. It was like, ooh, I want to launch Get Lit with Money Bitch. And then I was like, ooh, yay, fun. I want to do that. And I was like, yay, launch Get Lit with Money Bitch. And then it was like, ooh, I want to do this. And it was like, ooh, I want to do a free 3-part training series. Ooh, what do I want to do the 3-part training series about? And it was like this. And it was like, ooh, I want to do it like this. And it was just like fun thing to the next. It was like I unwrapped one present after another, after another, after another. And then I got everything that I wanted. I hit the goal. Right. But if I was like,
I love that.
If I was overthinking it, how do I get that? Do I even want this? Blah, blah, blah. I would just get all confused. And when I'm confused, there's nothing to get my energy behind.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, it's already the 15th of the month. Ugh. And we could just not do any of that.
Yeah, I think this is what I've learned from you over the last like kind of few months is like, I used to be in this energy that I'm trying to get out of, that I am getting out of a back foot business. I think Barbara touched on it. It's like start of the month. Fuck, okay, like what am I going to do now? And it's always like being on the back foot, always about, but I have to do something to make money. And so I've managed to quite successfully shift into this energy of like, no, this is just about self-sourcing. How do I want to feel? Cup runneth over vibes, but not avoiding like I'm in cup runneth over vibes, but locking in this intention that I'm just fabulously rich, full stop. Like, and people just want to work with me, full stop. And I've noticed that like just from that kind of energy, even though I haven't yet figured out like what I want to launch or what I want to happen or how I want to market, like people are just, all clients are coming out of the woodwork and just making their own offers and asking to pay me for shit that I don't offer. That's really fun and easy. And every single month, like I just keep making money because like it happens from my intention and my cup runneth over vibes. And I guess like what I'm saying here is I think it's just like building that energy into like launches and like offers and other things and like continuing to have this like aligned flow based business that I've always wanted and not do things like because I have to or have to make money, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. So then that's the energy you get to ground into and lead from.
Yeah, it's just like grounding further into that in all areas of my business and not falling back into that kind of back foot business kind of energy.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome. So, a couple of other things. Do you have any like words of wisdom of, so I've cleaned up scarcity energy in terms of like money in general. Like I never worry about money. I'm never like thinking about money except I'm fabulously rich. Like I've cleaned that up, like get lit with money vibes. But it's scarce. I have a new area of scarcity, which is when I have money in my bank account, or now that I've started to make more money, I've started to pay down my credit card. And I noticed that it actually makes me feel very anxious to like have money. And it's scarcity again. The new scarcity is, but what if this money like goes away? Like I like made lots of money and then suddenly everyone wants a refund and the money goes away. So like, how do I clean up that new scarcity around having money?
So yeah, it's just a new level that you get to work with and rearrange and recalibrate to a higher standard of what you actually want, right? So it's literally the same work you did with your receiving, you get to do with keeping, right? And to me, I almost hesitate saying the word keeping because to me that almost implies like holding on to money. But it's like, to me, it's like if you keep like a minimum of like $50,000 in the bank, for example, and you spend 10,000, now you have 40,000. It's like, it's still in that moment, you're energetically keeping $50,000 in the bank and then $10,000 comes in. You know what I'm saying? So it's like in that moment of out, are you still holding the energy of how much you want? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, you get to look at any part of you that's like, do I feel unsafe holding that? Do I not feel good? Like, do I not feel like whatever, allowed, safe, whatever? And then it's just shifting those limiting beliefs.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. That energy of like, when it's like, I said this in the Voxer chat, I made 5K a month by my energetic minimum. And so no matter, even if I have an avoidance month, it still comes in. And
Right.
So it's doing that with the bank account. I've never been someone who's had like a lot of wealth in my bank account. So it's like practicing, well, what would that be like? What would that feel like? And almost like self-sourcing like that stability and that security. And obviously the external will match, but then I won't even be so attached to the external matching because I'm self-sourcing it.
Exactly. And instead of doing that with your receiving money, it's like, okay, you've programmed yourself to do that with receiving, and now it's just doing that with something else, with your focus on your bank account, how much is in there at any given time.
Yeah, because I did it with receiving. So it's just kind of going, okay, how did I do it with receiving? Well, I just decided not to emote on it anymore and proactively practice normalizing the new thing. Okay, I'll do that with bank account vibes. Cool.
Perfect. Amazing.
And I'm leaning into like, this is something else I'm kind of like 90% locked in with, is like clients who lead themselves. Like, I just love it when my client calls are just about everything and anything, and the client just has breakthroughs, and it's all very like intuitive, and they just kind of create magic, versus like the clients who are like tapping their foot waiting for me to like figure out their life. And so is that just about, like, again, intention, vibes, energetic standards, like just focusing on what I do want, which is those clients?
Yeah, so I feel like it's focusing on what you do want, and it's also not feeling bad. Like, I feel like guilt plays a role in this for a lot of coaches, and I know it did for me in the past, where it's like, if they, like, being so attached to your clients and their results within a period of time, right? Or just to their results or their clarity, or them feeling that, oh my gosh, yes, click on a call, right? Like, to me, a lot of people like will get to this point where they're so attached to the results of their clients and their timelines of their clients, that if they don't feel like it's going how they think it should be going, they start to feel guilty, like they're doing something wrong or they're not doing enough or whatever. And so it's like, it's an available energy for a client who's like not taking responsibility, because in that energy, you're taking responsibility for them, right? So then naturally you attract somebody who's going to put the responsibility on you, right? And then they're going to require that you lead them instead of them lead yourself and calibrate to you. So it's like, when you don't feel guilty because you so fully and completely trust them to trust themselves, and you fully and completely can stand in a moment where they're not clicking and still hold this energy of like the click, but not because you need it for your ego, but because you know the click's inevitable because they're on this like process and progression of expansion. That is when it shifts, right? Because you hold the energy of the click, whether or not they're clicking, and not from a neediness, not from an ego gratification, but from the click is inevitable. Duh.
Yeah, I love that, because it's so true. Like the calls that I get on, and I'm just like so in trust of alignment, and so just like holding the vision of them, their higher self, and them stepping into their power, like, but like not attached to it at all, because I just know it's like all spiritual truth, and just like I feel really fun and trusting and intuitive. They're the calls that always go like beyond my wildest dreams. And the calls where I'm like, oh, I better like try really hard to like make sure they get what they want, are the calls that feel very hard and like not so flowy.
Right. Like, what if you just trusted your clients and trusted God and trusted their timeline and just held the energy of it regardless? It's like the same thing with receiving money, holding the energy of it even if it's not flowing yet, right? Holding the intention, like being the banks of the flow.
Yeah, I love that.
Perfect.
Cool.
Amazing.
And just the last thing is, it's very related to what Veronica was kind of going through, that you said like feeling unsafe is the number one way we distort our message. And so I feel like I've had a lot of breakthroughs around that and feeling safe in terms of messaging on Instagram and my email list. For some reason, Instagram and my email list, I'm just like, yeah, hey bitches, like, and I say what I want from my heart, and it's so potent and it's just so fun, and I could do it all day long. But when it comes to podcasts and Facebook, it's like, I don't know why, but it's like, like, oh, I gotta like filter what I say, and like, what will people think, and what if this doesn't please them, and then they tune out, and then my podcast becomes so like hard and perfectionisty, and it like you said, it's distorted and it's hesitant, and so it has this like gross residual energy about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, this is just like when you notice the hesitation, not hesitating, right? Because it's like, with the fear distorting your message, it means you water yourself down. It means you lose the potency. It means you like so I feel like magnetism is like speaking what you feel and saying what you mean, and saying like what you're actually feeling and radiating and believing, right? But if you try and teach something you're not embodying, there's no magnetism there. Even if you read it on paper and it's like, wow, that makes sense. That's actually pretty good. But I just don't, it's not like I'm not feeling it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you get to lean into those edges where it feels like I'm afraid of people judging me or whatever. And instead of making it about how people are receiving you, right? you get to make it about, do I want to say this? Like using it, like I get to fucking like use this, my platforms as my fucking diary if I so choose to do that, or if I fucking desire to do that. It's about what I want. Is this what I want to say, instead of how do I want people to receive me? Or how do I worry people will or won't receive me? How about just make it about what I want instead of what other people, you know what I'm saying? Because that's that magnetism, that's that leadership energy, where it's like people want to calibrate to somebody who's moving, and you moving is I say what I want to say because I want to say it, not because I care or need other people to receive it a certain type of way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is gold. I can't wait to re-listen to the recording. I'm like, fuck, that's so fire. And and like, I know what you mean, because like on Instagram, I do that. I'm like, this is so fun. This is like, I feel like a muse. I'm just going to say philosophy things and whatever I want. And I sign lots of clients and it's easy. Whereas the like podcast or Facebook, it's just this energy of like, I know what I want to say, and it is like how I feel and kind of what I know to be true for me. But then all this kind of, it's just like, I guess, fear of like, fear of haters, fear of attack. Like if I want to talk about luxury, or if I want to talk about money, or if I want to talk about how I manifested something on a lottery ticket, it's like, oh, but like, I don't want to lead people astray, or what if people get mad at me or misperceive me? It's like, I want to be liked, good girl energy.
Yeah. Well, if they misunderstand you, then they do. If they don't like it, then they don't. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, who cares? You know, like to me, it's like, am I going to let myself say what I want to say, or am I going to continually live a life where I filter who I am, how I act, who I be, and what I want, right? What I want, desire, want to make money, you want to all these things. If so, you must be in desire, you must do what you want, right? It's a compatible frequency with earning and receiving and having more, right? Am I going to allow, the voices in my head, right? Because this isn't even true. This isn't even real, right? There aren't people on your page currently hating on you or being like, Elise, shut up, or I don't like this, or I'm unfollowing you, blah, blah, blah. Like this is all just voices in your head. The people in your head, they're made up, right?
Yeah, it's so funny because like I have like 92 positive podcast reviews and like 2 bad ones, and I'm like, oh, the bad ones, like, yeah, everyone hates me. It's so funny how the brain is like, so like we'll just focus on the negative.
Yeah.
But you're right, like, and I love that attitude of like, it's kind of like you were saying with Veronica, it's like almost like diving into the pain and letting like, because my worst fear is the feeling that people will reject it or not like my authentic self. But if I can be okay with that feeling and I can like live through that, then there's nothing to fear, and then I don't have to procrastinate on my podcast, if that makes sense.
Right. And if you're okay with that, the people who don't resonate will go away, and the people who do resonate will come in. Like I look at it like, manifesting a man, for lack of a better term. Like you try and bend and be and do all the things because you think this man will like it. It's like, or you could just do what you want, be who you are, love yourself, do what you want, be who you are from that place of loving and accepting yourself. And if this man doesn't jive, like cool, like while you're so busy loving yourself, loving life because you're loving yourself, like hello other man that I am his dream girl, of course.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Give people the opportunity to love you.
Yeah. And I think it just takes like, and I'm almost there, it's like so much self-love and self-acceptance that like you don't make it mean something about you if people don't resonate with who you are, because you like who you are. So it doesn't really, you're not looking for that. I don't want to be going at business through a lens of like needing validation. I want to go at it because it's my purpose work, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Amazing. Thank you so much, love. I cannot wait to like re-listen to this. So much gold.
Oh, yay. You are so welcome. Okay, perfect. Stephanie, coming for you. Hello.
Oh, hello, ladies.
How are you, love?
Oh my gosh. All right. So this is how I feel about where I'm at, is that like, I want so much fucking more. Like that desire is so strong. And then what has been happening is I feel like I've been having like these explosions. So let's use the example that you gave of the riverbank with the water, with the river. So it's like, oh, you want more? Okay, so let's fucking carve you out a bigger riverbank, right? So then I've been having these like explosions of just emotional type awarenesses of where I have been resisting and where I've been having fear. And so that is a little chaotic, but even though it's chaotic, it's also exciting, and I'm still working on grounding. So even those, like, I feel that, so here, I wonder, my question is like, do I need to be having this kind of like experience of it being like that? I mean, it's not that I'm looking for that, but that's just what's been playing out. So
to me, the tightness sensation is experienced when the intention doesn't expand with the flow, right? Or vice versa, where it's like the flow is coming through, but the intention isn't expanding, because the intention is what holds space for the flow. So if it feels tight, that means your flow is trying to move through like a hose instead of a river, right? Where it's like the banks, for example, is the intention, and the flow that moves through it is the energy, the receiving, the action, the inspiration, right? Like the guidance. And so if it feels like feels that tightness, it's because the intention needs to expand with the flow. Does that make sense?
yes.
And so then it won't feel distorted, because it's like, imagine trying to pour a river through a nozzle the size of the hose. Some of it's going to go through and others going to shoot out the sides and fly right past it. You know what I'm saying? So then it's like, well, all these things that are flying around the hose nozzle that aren't going through it because it's a small container to move into, it's a small intention, then all these things are kind of like ethereally floating around me. They don't feel grounded into it because they're not being held space for. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
So it's like,
go ahead.
holding space for it, to me, means the intention. So the flow that's coming in, like the clarity, the ideas, it feels scattered if there is some kind of barrier, for lack of a better term, in the way, right? And that barrier can be this idea that I'm not safe to have it. I don't know what I'm doing, or something wrong with me, blah, blah. That, or it's like this clarity and intention is trying to move through, but there's some part of you that hasn't opened up to fully receive it. So therefore the container to hold it hasn't expanded to hold all of it.
Yeah, that's that one. The second one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. And so I'm also reflecting on that I have been working, I've tried to do these launches before with a group program, and I had shared this on the Voxer about the last one that I did, the mermaid cleanse. Mm-hmm. And so there's a part of me that's like, it's, how many times are you going to do this and it's still not working? So I addressed that fear, and I'm like, yeah, just because it didn't happen that time doesn't mean it's not going to happen this time. And tuning, as I'm getting like sense of like, I'm really fine tuning of, I get to do it exactly how I want to. And right. Wherever I was not being honest with myself about what really excited me was right. The reason, so I'm doing that.
Because when you're led by desire, there's clarity. And when there's clarity, there's less room for distortion, or there's less room or availability to be talked out of what you want by your own resistance.
Yeah. I do feel that too, like coming into like talking myself out of it and just being like, no, we're not doing that again. like the horse, like, that doesn't want to go that way. And you're like, no, we're not doing that this time.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I'm feeling that too. What else? But I am seeing, like, I have, the other thing that, was also feeling like I was guarding myself. And I've started to notice that, people are starting to reach out to me again, but like, I energetically just can feel, I'm like, this is not the type of client that I work with. And it's not about, it's just, I get this energetic, like, no, like this would feel right. like a drain, right? Which is what I've been guarding myself from. And I've gotten back on doing live streams again, and it's funny that you said that, because it's exactly how it feels. It feels like this is my diary. I'm just talking about what I want to talk about and what gets me excited. And as I'm doing that, it's also helping me to get even more clear on, well, what is this, without putting any pressure around like anybody having to sign up. Like, this is just my creative process, and just really, really, really grounding into, I have all the fucking time in the world, regardless of whatever outside circumstances want to show me. Like, I do get to have this, and I have all the time in the world, and I just get to like soak up and enjoy this as much as I can, and really stay in that.
I love that, because that's when it's like you're doing it because you want to do it, and that's where magnetism is, right? Not like, I need to do this to get this, or I need to do this because that's what other people want, right? But when you do it because you want to do it, there's freedom, and that's magnetic. And then people are like, ooh, Stephanie, I want to calibrate to you. How can I pay you? How can I get around you? What's up?
Yeah. So I feel good. I'm seeing like the shifts, like positive things that are showing me, that are like the nudges and the beautiful confirmations from the universe that are like, yep, like it's happening. It's good. And just really staying in like my internal world of allowing my vision to grow from the inside out. And yeah, and
I love that. That's beautiful.
That's pretty much it. So
oh yeah,
I'm looking forward to re-listening to everything that you shared, and for everybody. And yeah, thank you so much. I'm wishing you guys all the best.
Aw, amazing. That's sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm gonna respond to such a great call. Good. I'm gonna respond to Veronica's question in the chat before we wrap up. Okay, so I've been feeling that. My euphoria was when I aligned with paying for the Moneymind, and now I'm noticing fear about being able to continue to pay easily. I made a commitment to my partner that I would pay for the Moneymind through an avenue that doesn't usually go to our main account together. Now I'm in the how. So, with everything, intention is queen. Like, intention is the energy, which, okay, so one, it's like with investments, right? You have to decide, is this what I want, right? And the fact that you invested means yes. Right? So do I want this? Do I want to invest in this? Yes. Right? And then intention of deciding, like, this is what I get to have. I choose to back myself up. I choose to follow through. I choose to be a woman of my word. I choose to align and open up the avenues in which this gets to work out for me, because I've decided this, because this is my powerful intention, because this is my declaration, because I've decided. The universe has no choice but to respond to me, to support me, to back me up, to follow through, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, it's moving out of the energy of like, I'll do this if it'll work, to I'm doing this, period. Does that make sense? It's like that. It feels like a yes in your belly. Does that make sense? So it's like reconnecting to, maybe what would be helpful for you, Veronica, is like kind of diving into the intentions you had for joining this container in the first place, right? Like, so being in the container, being around Genevieve, being in her energy, having access to her, having that support, and what else, right? Like, where is your solid yes of the energy that you can get behind? Where it's like, it's just non-negotiable. Does that make sense? I'm going to reread this and see if anything else wants to come out around that. My euphoria was when I aligned for paying with Moneymind. Now I'm noticing fear about being able to continue to pay easily. I made a commitment to my partner that I would pay for the Moneymind through an avenue that doesn't usually go to our main account together. Now I'm in the how. And like, to me, the how is just like, it's one of those things, like when how comes into your brain, what logical, quote unquote, logical people who follow mediocrity and mediocre lives and who never fully go for their dreams, right? They'll say the how, that's very logical. We should look at that and figure out how and do plans and blah, 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 right? But it's like, to me, the how is just like an extension of doubt in the mind, right? And when we entertain doubt, that's what we're pouring our energy into, right? But it's like, when we can see that how is actually an indicator, right? It's not a question to answer. How is not a question to answer. It's just an indicator for what we get to shift out of, which is a feeling of doubt. Does that make sense? So then you get to shift out of that, ground back into the intention and desire, which is, again, desire is the vision, desire is the intention, and desire is something to get behind, right? And when we have something to get behind, it's like this vibe of, I don't even need to know how, I'm just doing it. Does that make sense? Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. So I will have the replay up either this evening or tomorrow, and I'll post it in the chat and the Facebook group. And then what else? I'll be catching up with you all inside the chat probably later this evening. I love you all so, so much. What a powerful, powerful way to start our first call for this container. And for those of you who haven't messaged me yet to set up your one-on-one call for the month, feel free to do that, and we will get you scheduled for this month. I love you all. I will talk to you